Welcome back. We are continuing becoming Naomi Leon. Okay. And we are on chapter 15, A Piteousness of Doves. Goose has joined us. How are you today, Goose? All right, there we go. See, all good. We're good here. All right. A Piteousness of Doves. Let's go straight for it. Fabiola hung up the phone and shook her head and frowned. It had been 3 days since we'd been to Aunt Teresa's, and still Santiago had not arrived. Teresa, she feels confident that he still might come for the holidays, possibly for the new year. I will take Owen and Ruben to the municipal building and check the registration list this morning, said Bernardo. Well, I guess that's that, said Graham, looking into her plate of eggs. Graham, he still might come. I scooted my chair away from the table and walked outside to the jacaranda tree and sat down. So Graham has been looking a little bit worried and maybe not as optimistic as she usually is. Tonight was Barrio Halatlaco's Posada, and tomorrow the radishes would be delivered. Where was Santiago? What could have happened? He was going to miss everything, including us. I stayed beneath the tree while Bernardo left with the boys, and Graham and Fabiola and Flora left for El Mercado. A breeze lifted the loose purple jacaranda blossoms and sprinkled them over me. Picking up a bar of soap, I held it against the sky and imagined a little white dove inside. A dove, no kidding. I rounded the corners of the bar and smoothed the arch that would be the back. I thought of Blanca. I wondered about what she was doing and if she missed me. I thought about Mr. Marble.
Blanca was the friend, correct?
Yeah.
Making sure. It's been a while since we've heard from Blanca.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. I thought about Mr. Marble, the librarian, Miss Morimoto, her teacher. If I didn't find my father, would I have to live in Las Vegas and leave my life in Lemon Tree?
I'm not muted.
No. I worked and whittled and scraped and dug, but when I got to the center, there was nothing, only the ground covered with my snowy frustrations. I whispered to the leaves and the purple flowers. Santiago, you don't have to be our father if you don't want to. Just show up and help me, please. I picked up another bar of soap to begin again. The gate opened and Owen walked toward me with Ruben following. It's okay, Naomi, it's okay. Had Santiago registered at the municipal building? But when Bernardo walked into the yard behind the boys and I saw his sad, soft-hearted eyes, I knew that Owen had only been trying to reassure me there was no good news to give. Well, that sounds just downright pitiful. That night, before Las Posadas, Graciela brushed my hair until it shimmered like velvet. Since I'd been thinking so much about my father, I wondered about Ruben's. Graham would say to let it be and mind my own affairs. Blanca would tell me to ask lots of questions and get lots of answers. Graciela, ¿dónde está Ruben's father? Naomi speaks Spanish like I do. She stopped brushing. I hoped I hadn't been too rude or nosy. We are no longer together. Did you ever want to leave Ruben with Flora and Pedro and go look for your life? Graciela turned me around to face her. She carefully situated a beaded headband in my hair. No, Naomi. You see, I am looking for my own life right here with Ruben. At 8, when the sky was filled with darkness and we all walked the few blocks through the barrio to a small hotel for Las Posadas. Many of the neighbors gathered there in the street, as well as tourists who were staying at the hotels. Flora and Pedro and Graciela seemed to know almost everyone. In a matter of minutes, the road filled with people. The door to the inn opened, and a handsome man with black hair and beard walked out into the street with his two teenage daughters, their arms full of baskets. Look, Fabiola said. He has las candelas, the torches. The father gave the adults the long sticks of bamboo with a candle stuck in the top, surrounded by an upside-down cellophane umbrella. One daughter handed me long wire sparklers, at least 3 feet long, then passed whistles to the youngest children. The other daughter gave firecrackers to the boys. Owen held up a bundle of pink and white firecrackers to show me, grinning and jumping up and down. Reuben copied him. The man and his daughters lit the wicks of La Candelas, and then everyone passed the flames, candle to candle, until the street glowed with soft lights. One of the older boys held a candle, and the younger ones ran to it and lit their firecrackers, tossing them quickly away from the crowd. Pop, pop, crack. It actually says that. Onomatopoeia. You know, at my church, we do something like this with the candles, but it's for the midnight service on Christmas Eve, and we pass the light from one to the other, lighting the candle. The huddle of people began walking slowly through the street. Every person, from the smallest to the oldest, held a sparkler, candle, or firecracker to light the night. I held my sparkler out and watched the tiny white pinpoints sprinkle onto the street. The sound of the firecrackers echoed off the stone streets and brick walls. People wove like a snake on the cobblestones, then stopped at the first door and started to sing. It is a famous song about this night, whispered Fabiola. It says, the Queen of Heaven is asking for shelter for only one night under your roof. On the other side of the door, someone answered them. I looked up at Fabiola, surprised. She nodded. The people wait behind the door. They say, no hay posada. There is no shelter here. Watch, said Graciela. The people who turned us away will come out of the house and join us. As I peeked back through the crowd, the door opened, and a man and a woman stepped out. Another neighbor passed them some candles, which they lit. Then the parade started again. As I walked, my sparklers spilled a circle of brightness in front of me. Graham had a bamboo candelero, and when I glanced up at her in that light, her face looked soft and contented. She hummed along with the singers, even though she didn't know the words.
Can I interrupt for a sec?
Sure.
Sorry. So, because as you're reading that, I'm always about senses. If you have, so, I know some people don't, their senses are different when you read. So I used to love sparklers when I was a kid. I actually grew up in a state that fireworks were legal, so we could legally set them off and we could play. I mean, the stuff I played with when I was like 7-year-old, that was ridiculous, but whatever, I survived. But the sparklers I love. So as you're reading that, I can smell that sulfur smell. So it's like always it kind of brings back that, like, it's very strong for me. Like I feel like I can smell it.
Oh, wow. Well, you are the super sniffer.
Well, I am a super sniffer, and she's such a great writer. It's
Yeah.
like it allows me her details. It just, anyway, I'm muting.
Okay. The song continued, and people's voices became stronger, floating upward and echoing off the walls of the barrio. At each house, it was as if part of me knocked on the door too, asking about my father and getting no answers. Spurts of light and noise surrounded me. I felt tears in my eyes and wiped away the drops on my lashes. We stopped at another door, and the people's voices sang louder. Again, someone from behind the door called back to them. No hay posada. The procession circled the block and stopped in front of the inn where we had begun. The father, who had passed out Los Candeleros, knocked on his own door and sang out the words of the song. A woman's voice sang back. Graciela whispered, "Come in, holy pilgrims. Welcome to this place. Although the house is modest, our heart is big." Everyone cheered loudly, and the boys threw an army of firecrackers, the noise peppering the street. My tears spilled over. Graciela hugged me. "It is a joy and a sadness in the heart at the same time, no?" I nodded. There goes the good and the bad. I nodded. No wonder my father loved Posadas. Then, as Las Posadas. Then, as quickly as my tears had come, the mood around us changed. The doors flung open and several women came out with trays of sandwiches that Fabiola called tortas. The daughters served punch from a big pot because no celebration is a celebration unless it's followed by food. On a nearby rooftop, I noticed a boy swing a rope back and forth, then let go. Another boy on a rooftop on the other side of the street caught it, and as he pulled, a piñata slowly rose from the ground. Someone held up a stick, and the crowd clapped and cheered. Even the youngest children received a turn tapping the piñata. Owen swung and got a good crack. When everyone whooped for him, he bowed, and the people laughed, but not making fun of him, like in Lemon Tree. When the bigger boys took their turns and the piñata broke, Owen ran in with the rest and came back to me with his hands full of something that looked like short sticks of bamboo. "Sugar cane," said Graziella. She took the thick cane, peeled back the top like a banana, and handed a piece to Owen and another to me. "Taste it." Owen ran off with a sugar cane dangling from his mouth like a cigar. I carefully put the white bark to my lips and sucked on the sweetness. Now that's something that always makes me remember being a kid and eating sugar cane and just like the texture and this, loved it. One after the other, the pottery insides of the 5 piñatas clattered onto the street, and little children ran to collect the peanuts, small oranges, and sugarcane that spilled from their clay tummies. The women passed out orange, pink, and yellow tissue paper bundles to each person. Then people began to drift away in 2s and 3s back to their own parts of the neighborhood. As they left, they called out, "Feliz Navidad." We headed home too. Flora, Graham, and Fabiola walked arm in arm ahead of me, 3 links in a chain. Bernardo and Pedro walked behind us, talking in their deep Spanish voices, probably about the radishes that would be delivered from the fields tomorrow. Reuben and Owen on one side of me already nibbled the cookies and candies that had been inside the tissue bundles. On the other side, Graciela held my hand. Every few minutes, she looked down at me and smiled with a face full of kindness. Just for a blink of my eye, I pretended that Graciela was my mother. I wondered if my father had ever married again. Maybe he would show up and he would meet Graciela and they could get married. Then Owen, Graham, and I could live with them in a little house like Flora and Pedro's with Fabiola and Bernardo close by. I would never have to go back to Lemon Tree and take the chance of having to live with Skyla. Every year, we could all walk home from Las Posadas together, one big family. We turned the corner and the street lamp gave off enough light so that we could see a lone figure up ahead standing in front of the wooden gates. "I told Benny to come over so we can make the decisions tonight," said Bernardo. Pedro waved and the person waved back. As we walked closer, I thought, what if it wasn't Benny? What if it was my father? But it wasn't, it was Benny. Everyone went to bed except for the men, who huddled together in the yard and discussed what they would carve for the festival. With my box of carvings under my arm, I tiptoed into Flora's kitchen for the last of the hot chocolate, which I knew was on the back of the stove. As I sipped, I examined a jacaranda branch that Reuben had dragged inside and left on Flora's table. I picked up the branch and held it above my animals. I moved the branch back and forth like a puppeteer and imagined what my father had once carved for us. Then I held the branch upright as if it grew out of the table. Since it was flat on the bottom, it balanced and stood like a young sapling. I braced it with Flora's salt and pepper shakers and bottles of hot sauce for extra support. Then carefully began placing my soap figures among the spindly twigs. Benny walked in, and while he drank a glass of water, he glanced at my arrangements on the table. He came closer, studying the animals in the tree. Don't touch, he said. Then he ran outside.
Ooh, cliffhanger. Cliffhanger. There are a lot of cliffhangers in that one.
Yeah.
That's that chapter. Wait, I can't say that word.
Piteousness?
Can't say it. Of doves. Of doves, of doves. Why are doves to be pitied? Well, doves were peaceful.
I think doves pity us.
Doves are judgy?
No, they're sympathetic.
It's so funny because I don't, pity and empathy are different for me.
Oh, no. Well, not empathetic, sympathetic.
Judgy. When you're empathy, I feel like that's heartfelt, and pity is just like, I pity you.
Oh, see, I don't think pity has to be a bad thing.
Okay.
Oh, interesting. Have pity on me?
Yeah, like that. I feel like that's judgy. Like, oh, have pity on me, and I'm like, why should I pity you? But empathy, I feel like it's like heartfelt.
Oh, interesting. I believe we could definitely have further conversation on that matter. But too bad we don't have a class full of kids in front of us.
They would be listening to us anyway. So.
They'd all be like, do you have any questions? No.
Yeah. Or they would, but they're like, but doesn't have anything to really do with this. What time is lunch? It's the same every day. Can I go to the bathroom? Get water.
It's time for, what's today? Thursday. Dance. Can the dancers go?
Never mind.
Oh, we miss you
all guys. Remember all of that?
I know. We miss you very much. Goose, don't you miss them? He says not really, but that's okay.
I was trying to think, like, what else would be going on? We'd have, like, Augie would be going up and down in that chair.
Yep.
If you let anyone sit on the bouncy things, those would be people would be bouncing on those.
My young man would say things like, wait.
Right.
I have a question.
Wait, yeah, wait.
I don't get it.
Well, yeah, wait. That's how he does it. He's like, thinking in his head, wait. And then Max would have something. Like, seriously, would have, like, something that would relate to the book. And you're like, oh, yeah. And Jared would have something. That kid that sits in front would have something.
But he'd also be fiddling with it.
I don't even pay, the pipe cleaners. I never know. Like, I got so used to the pipe cleaners.
Yeah.
Normally, that would be something like, oh my God, you got to put those away. But I just got used to those.
Yeah.
It's a long time ago. I mean, it was.
Seems like forever ago, guys. Oh, well. Hopefully, we'll all be together soon.
Lights out. We know what lights out mean. I mean, come on. It's the same thing, guys. It means just like stand behind your chairs and not talk. At that point, remember, guys, like at that point, we just took you guys separately. We just had separate lines. So let's go. Can't do it. Get taken together. Can't do it. Get it.
An ice bear. She called for ice bears?
Exactly. I'm ice bear.
We definitely miss you guys, okay? So take care. We will see you on our next installment. Be good. Bye.
Bye.